confidence, not sometimes, but all the time, confidence will be different things for different people. It's going to look, sound, feel different to everybody. So it's not this is what it is, or this is how you have to be. It's looking at, okay, so where are we right now? What is it that you want to go for? And what's the obstacle in your way?
Welcome to Another Door podcast. Another Door is a place that you come to when you're rethinking your work, whether it's job loss, a career change, or you just want to rethink how you are doing your work right now. Come and find us at anotherdoor.co.uk. On this episode, I have Beverley Akufo-Addo. Me, Beverley, and I met at a stylist event, which was in a very beautiful hotel in London, the Soho Hotel. We were talking about returning to work under all kinds of circumstances, and Beverley's story really resonated, and I loved the way that she talked through her journey of many different doors closing, doors opening, and how she returned stronger and better each time. So, of course, I had to get her on the podcast to share all that she has learnt in every step of her chapter. So Beverley specialises in burnout and helping people to work through their confidence when a door has closed. And as you will hear, she shares her honest story about how she felt when doors closed for her in her career. I hope you enjoy. Please leave a review and let us know what you think. Bev, so good to have you on Another Door podcast today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So we met a couple of weeks ago at a very glamorous venue, the Soho House, at a stylist event. Absolutely loved it. It was buzzing. And I loved your story, and that is why I've invited you on. So thank you. That event was great, wasn't it?
Absolutely loved it. And I think if everyone had the opportunity, they would have stayed way longer than we had to wrap up. But the energy was amazing, listening to the other panelists, and great contributions from those who attended as well.
I think you're right, actually. They would have quite happily stayed and had like an all-nighter, I think. There's a really nice vibe in the crowd. It was really, because not always, those events are sometimes really hard because not everybody knows each other. It can feel a bit awkward. But they did such a good job in getting the crowd and the audience involved. And obviously we were panelists, but I loved that. Absolutely loved it. So well done, stylist.
Big well done to stylist. And it was great to meet people like yourself and the other panelists as well, and hearing the various types of career breaks people have had, whether it's due to health or redundancy or maternity. I think it just goes to show how varied life is for all of us and what career breaks look like. And I think one of the panelists who attended also mentioned about LinkedIn now featuring that. So really giving more gravitas towards career breaks and how important they are.
That's such a good point. Yeah, I forgot all about that. I'm well remembered. I think I was just getting really into like all the talks that people give. But yeah, you're right. LinkedIn now has a new thing. You can have a career break and there's no shame. How revolutionary.
Exactly.
So let's get stuck into your Another Door moment. And I know just from listening to you on the panel, you have probably many another door moments, a door closing and then a fantastic opportunity coming. But what I really liked about you, Bevan, we were sitting next to each other and I kept on like patting your shoulder, probably annoying you, but you were just saying such great things. But your stories were just so great. And one of the things, Yeah, one of the things that really struck me was your honesty. So I'm hoping you're just going to share it all. Probably not all. It's only half an hour chat today, but share it all for people. So where should we start, Bev? Which door are we going to explore?
Yeah, so there's a couple of doors I'm thinking of. But the first one, I think the first one I think will be back to uni time. So when I was doing my postgraduate degree, actually, sorry, it was when I was working before going to do my postgraduate degree. Um, that's the first door that I think we should explore and open.
Oh, okay. Go on then. Take me there. What happened?
Right, so I'd finished my undergraduate bachelor's degree, and that was within media, communications, and journalism. So absolutely fine, graduated, and I decided, great, this is the time I'm going to go into full-time work, earn money, find out what it's really like out there. And this is a bit of a different thing. So some might be able to relate with me, some may not. Um, and I was definitely in my people pleasing era at the time, really scared to speak up, and especially when it came to family. So I've been working at this organization for probably about 6 months. And prior to me even finishing my undergraduate degree, actually, my family, we're from West Africa originally. So there's a really, really big push on education, especially because my mum hadn't gone to university. A lot of people in the family hadn't gone to university. So they started speaking about me doing a master's degree. Now, this wasn't something that I had wanted to do myself. I didn't know what I would have wanted to study to do a master's degree. And I said to them, well, I'd really like to go and work for a bit first. They weren't happy with the decision because they wanted me to go straight from my undergrad degree to my postgrad degree. So I went into the world of work, really happy, loved the organization. I was working in event production, like conference events, corporate events. And my team was great, manager was great, enjoying it. And the conversation kept on coming up, and I felt the pressure of my family loads. You need to go and have this postgrad degree. If you don't, then you're letting people down. As a Black person, as a Black woman, you have to have more educational qualifications to be able to prove yourself. You're not going to be as good. You're not going to get as many opportunities. And it was really hard and heavy to always hear that. But meanwhile, I was enjoying the role that I was in, and I wanted to continue that. But following lots of pressure, I think after about a year, that's when I had to hand in my notice because I just felt that I could no longer say no to my family. I could no longer go along with the the pressure that I was facing, the judgment, and the opinions that I was facing. So at that point, it wasn't that I was having a bad time at the organization. It wasn't that they wanted to let me go. The only reason was I have to go and study again. Otherwise, I let down or disappointment or a failure to my family. And I went to go and do the 1 year postgraduate degree and hated it. It was probably one of the most stressful, deflating times that I can remember of my life. It wasn't a degree that I wanted to do. I just chose something to make them happy. And I would say that would have been the first kind of career break I'd taken in a way that it wasn't for me. So I'm gonna pause there. I'm gonna pause there.
Yeah, a lot going on there. Wow. And you're right. Now, sometimes we always think doors are kind of forced upon us or, in career change, it's because of something you've done personally. That's really fascinating. And do you think it's people pleasing or did you just not want to let your family down? It's subtle differences there, but you kind of mentioned both.
I think that at times the two can intertwine because I didn't want to let them down because I wanted to please them. And I think that because I had gone through education and school, getting good grades, succeeding and stuff, I just wanted them to still be happy and not see me as a person that's rebellious or why have you stopped here and why haven't you gone further or pushed yourself more? Maybe I started to internalize feelings of, well, if I stopped right now, like, I might letting myself down as well, rather than being true to myself. So I think the people pleaser was there, as well as not wanting to let them down, because if I had the character that I have now back then, it's definitely something that I wouldn't have gone forward with.
Yeah, fascinating. How do you feel about that now when you look back?
Do you know, now that I look back, I've taken the transferable skills and seen how it had helped me, because there were things I learned from it. But for a long time, I carried a lot of resentment. I carried so much resentment, and it was something that stayed with me for years. So that was back in 2015 to 2016. Now that I look back at it, I'm like, okay, I'm a lot further down a different period altogether. But it's something that I wondered, if you didn't do that, Bevan, if you continued where you were, you would have, and where you were happy and enjoying yourself, what would have been different? And I try not to dwell too much on that, because you just don't know. You just don't know. So it's more so taking what has happened and being able to take the skills from that. And in a way, because I do coaching and I work with lots of different clients, it also helps me to see things from their perspective if they also feel in a similar position and able to provide different solutions working together.
Yeah, I can completely see that. But thank you for being honest about resentment, because I always think it's fascinating when we look back, we feel like we always have to find, it was meant to be and all this kind of stuff. But sometimes it's just true, isn't it? You just feel a little bit of resentment about what happened. And I think that's all right, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like in my case, it was a lot of resentment.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Right, but let's do a big but at this stage, because or however, that's a better word. However, as people will find out as we start chatting, it all worked out quite well as it happened. So let's keep exploring. Should we go through another door? Should we close another door?
Yes, let's do that. So the next one I'll take you all on is, okay, so I've now finished that master's degree, and which was in TV journalism. I worked in the newsroom after that for a few months and realized that this is not for me. I mean, I kind of had an idea, but after doing that master's, there's pretty much one route you're going to go, which is within TV journalism. Didn't want to do it, had no interest, didn't actually have proper interest in the degree. So shortly closed that route to then go into communication. So I was the digital comms lead for an organization. And for those who may not be familiar with communication, you can either have internal or external comms. So external comms is often working to show what the business, the brand, the company is doing, externally facing to public audiences. And internal comms is to communicate with your employees, your staff, stakeholders as to what's going on. So I was doing a bit of both, mainly external facing, but sometimes internal comms as well. A lot of feature writing, having articles written and ready. We had like a magazine, like a print magazine that would go out, so making sure that that was ready. So basically writing, getting stories, that kind of thing every single day. And the role was okay as it started, but I had big issues with my boss quite early on. So this was a lot of friction, I guess, was happening during this time. And sadly, while I was also working for the company, I had lost my grandmother, and her and I were like best friends, very, very, very close. So there was a lot of grieving going on during that time. And I believe it was the day after or 2 days after that informed my boss, my company, of what had happened. I was asked, okay, well, when are you coming into work? When are you coming back in? Because the sooner you come in, the sooner that you can get back to normal, get back to reality. And hearing that for me, because for anyone who's lost someone close to them, in that sudden moment, you're not thinking about, okay, how quickly can I get back to normal?
Yeah.
That's not what you're thinking. You have now entered a whole different type of reality, and you are trying to figure out how to make the next day, the day after that. Let alone having your boss who you already have had friction with saying to you, okay, well, the sooner you come back, the sooner you get back to normal.
How did that feel? Because just that language there, back to normal, as you say, in your world, life won't go back to how it was, whatever normal it is. It's a completely separate conversation probably, but the insinuation of like, just get back to work, let's just crack on, let's get back to how it was. It hasn't. Grief changes everything. How did that feel?
Crushing. It felt really crushing, but at the same time it felt like nothing as well, because I was in a state of feeling pretty numb. So it was just like, I don't know, you want to express emotion, but nothing's coming out.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know how to respond to anything, let alone to respond to that. So it was very insensitive, I found it to be. And just like, okay, well, your personal life right now doesn't matter. There's things that need to happen. And I mean, it also wasn't the biggest shock, because I'd remembered prior to that, while working for the organization, I'd been asked when I had booked annual leave and was going on holiday. I think that was when I was going to Italy, actually. And I've been asked to take my laptop with me so I can continue with the work, because they were falling behind in certain things. And me not speaking up back then, I took my laptop so that I could work. And I remember it was me and my friend that we went to Italy together, and she'd wanted to do certain things. And I said to her, I'm sorry, I can't, because I'm still working right now. So it felt really absurd that I had booked annual leave, left the country, I've been asked by my manager, okay, so are you going to take it so that you can work? And it wasn't one of those questions that she really expected a no to. And like I said, back then, that was a few years ago, I hadn't learned how to pick up for myself in the workplace. So when it also came around to, okay, well, when are you going to come back to work? So the quicker you come back, the quicker it's back to normal. It wasn't the biggest shock, but it was disappointing.
Yeah, and oh gosh, there's so much in there. So, again, as you say, a lot of the time we can kind of take that all on as it's our fault. It's our fault for not sticking up for ourselves. Yeah. It's our fault for not speaking up. It's our and all of this, and we could say, oh, it's because you're people pleasing. I would probably resonate with that, but actually, what you just described is just them being an asshole.
Yes,
absolutely. And that, let's not label it anything else. That's just being an asshole. Okay, so that's not helping me just calling people assholes. But how do we deal with this, Beverly? Because, that people are probably listening to this and resonating. And it's actually it feels like it's becoming more frequent than less frequent, weirdly. But how do you work with it? If you could go back and tell your young self at that moment in time, actually handle it this way, what would you say to them?
I would have said to write down the things that have been happening, because sometimes, like you said, we might blame ourselves, internalize things a lot, which I realized that I was doing. So to write down things that are happening, so that you know that you're not crazy, you know that you're not the one that's in the wrong, or not that you're not performing to the rate that you should be. So I'd have written these things down, and it would have then given me more confidence, or more of a leg and foundation to stand on and say, actually, no, I can't be having this at all. Instead of letting things pile up. And that's what happened to me, until one day, it started getting to the point where each night, especially on a Sunday, I would fear going to sleep, because I knew when I woke up, I'd have to go into work. So I'd stay awake, because I'm like, oh, it's such it's a thing that doesn't really make sense. But when you're in that state, nothing happens. So, I'm staying up because I'm just thinking, sleep. By the time I sleep, all I know is that by the time I open my eyes, I'm gonna have to dreadfully get up and go into work and continue just in a place where I felt really low, about a lot of anxiety, and just didn't know what to do. So I would have told myself back then, write these things down and start to have a plan of what's next. Now, because I was overworking so much, and some people may be in the same position, the thought of even looking for a new job at that point, it's like, how do I get the time to do that? I'm mentally, emotionally drained. I just, I was coming home, and on the way home, I'd buy a packet of crisps for dinner because that's all I could think about having, and then just try and crush out before working some more. So I would have told myself that and to be able to speak up about it. But the thing that I then did do was go to my GP to get signed off from work. Prior to this, by the way, I did have a health encounter where, because of all the stress and the burnout that I was experiencing, my eye fluid levels, I can't remember the name of it accurately, but they had gone exceedingly high. So I had woken up one morning, it was March 2019, I remember, and my head was pounded. I got to bed with a headache. I had like a light headache for the past few days. Gone to bed with a headache, and I'd woken up with excruciating pain. I woke up, my eyesight was very blurry, couldn't see very well whatsoever. And to get up, it was just awful. I tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. So I called NHS helpline 111 or 101, either one of those, to be able to help me understand what was going on. They said, this doesn't sound good, get to A&E, accident emergency room. Long story short, I was told that if I was not treated ASAP, I was at risk of losing my eyesight. And this was all result of being so burnt out and stressed and the lifestyle that I was leading. So that had then been a wake-up call for me. It had been a wake-up call for me, like, Bev, if you continue to do this, you could lose your sight. When I woke up and it was really blurry and hard to see, that was the onset of it happening. And for those who may know, I believe the healthy levels of your eye pressure is supposed to be around 12 to 20, and mine was just about to hit 40. So they were very concerned about that. And that's what then led me to getting signed off of work by my GP. Had I not had that health challenge, that health wake-up call, I don't know if that's a step that I would have taken. And that's not any position where anyone should get to before having to take some action. But that's what happened to me. And then I was signed off for a little while by my doctors because of what was going on.
Wow. Oh my goodness. And so I'm curious, right? So you mentioned, obviously, you had pounding headaches and all sorts of stuff was going on. But at any moment in time, in that moment in time, do you remember feeling like, yeah, I'm burning out, I can't do this? Or did you still feel like, oh, it's just, just keep pushing?
Yeah, prior to going to A&E and them telling me what's going on, even when I was experiencing the light headache, as they were building about, it was keep pushing, take some paracetamol. This is gonna go away, because that's what I've known always growing up. Like, keep pushing, just keep on going, and not thinking about burning out. Or I wasn't even familiar with what burnout was.
Yes, that's such a good point. You've made such a good point there. I think that's what I was thinking about, because in that moment you don't sit there thinking, oh, this is burnout. Like, by nature of burnout, you don't realize that that's what's happening to you, which makes it so hard. Which is why people reach the stage of no return, because you don't realize, do you? Yeah. So what happened next? I'm hoping, because there's gonna be a good story here, people. What happened?
Yes, so
Which, let's not trivialize. You went through hell, and there's no other way of kind of describing that. That it's not a pleasant experience. You've already described like very toxic work and no support and just, uncontrollable workload, which is again what people probably resonate with. But as you say, that's serious. You could have gone blind. You could have lost your eyesight.
yeah. So it's just really bewildering to even think that it could have gotten to that point.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to pay attention to the little telltale sign. And me being scared to go to sleep because have to wake up and work again, or the headaches and just having to pack up crisps for dinner and stuff. These were all the things that if I had maybe the language to put towards it at that time, or if I was really known about it or had some support, professional support, then I could have been like, oh, this is happening. I really want to pivot, go, change, do something.
I think that's one of the points I think I would really highlight, like the small things, taking notice of ourselves, the small things that suddenly become a habit that are probably not really acceptable to ourselves, if that makes sense. Like if you hadn't been able to step out of your zone and look at yourself and go, Bev, eating crisps for dinner every night? No. Having really bad sleep on a Monday and probably all week in some form? No, that's a flag. But as you say, like you're in the moment, aren't you? So anybody who's listening to this, notice yourself, step out of yourself and notice, is there habits that are maybe a bit of a, if not a red flag, an orange flag, perhaps?
Yes, exactly, to prevent it from going to the red flag, because now I can quickly identify if I'm doing something, let's say I might be having a scroll on social media, and if I realize that, oh, actually, certain things are starting to make me feel a bit low, at that point, I'm not going to keep on going. It's, all right, put the phone down there, go and do something different, or just chill out. So identify what your body's saying to you, because it is a form of communication when you're feeling these things that aren't necessarily what's best for yourself, and then being able to act on it sooner rather than later.
Oh gosh, I love that. I'm just making a note. I'm trying to grab a pencil. I just love what you just said. All right. Now, feeling triggered by things like flicking through social media and suddenly something sets you off is a form of yourself communicating to yourself. Oh my God, I love
that. Absolutely.
That's powerful. My goodness. And how many times do we, again, ignore ourselves, ignore what we're trying to say to ourselves and just keep going regardless? Ugh. So, does this bring us to the next door?
This is bringing us to the next door. So, during this time, I was off for a couple of months from the dreadful place, and in that time, I took it to work through what I was feeling, but just to stop altogether, anywhere, any kind of bending over backwards for anybody. And then I had to set myself a little plan, and it was, okay, what's going to come next? Nothing that's going to be overwhelming, but what is going to come next after this? But during that time, I applied for different roles, which I got accepted for. One working in a university, so left the previous place, and then started working at the university, working with supporting students in a non-academic way for a couple of years. Great team, absolutely went well, so much better experience. And then I said, okay, I've learned so many skills from this role, and naturally, I love to see people attaining their goals, helping them through any transformation that they're looking for. And I was doing that with the students, going on coaching and mentoring courses. And I said to myself, actually, what happened was the organization I was working for booked a consultant to come in. I believe it was for half a day or something. And that consultant was paid 5,000. And I said, really? Wow. I just wasn't aware of that kind of stuff. And I've known the work that he'd come in to do and looking at setting our company values or reset them because they wanted to upgrade or change the company values. So that's why I looked at my skills and the work that I've done, the experience that I've had, the people that I was talking to, the different conversations. And I said, what if I was to do something independent? What would that look like as a business, being self-employed and not having to work for a company? How do I remove those limits from my mind that I can't do it because I don't know things about taxes or accounting or legal structure to say that there's a way that I can work this out? And this is where the next door closed and another one opened because towards the end of 2021, I handed in my notice to say that I was leaving the company and moving into setting up my own business.
Wow, I love it. I love it. And I like the fact you sat there, that moment of, what if I can do what they're doing? You know, how many times have we all just sat in, I don't know, talks or meetings or what gatherings and watched somebody on stage or in front of us and thought, God, I wish I could be them, and then not done anything about it. But you actually took action.
Yes. And, you know, there'd definitely been times before that I thought about it and had never taken action. So it wasn't a one-time thought and I'd acted on it straight then. There were numerous times I've been like, oh, that's cool. Or that looks great. I wonder how that person did it. But it was never a thing that I would go forward for or explore until that point. And I think it was because I did have a great manager who was really good at coaching me and helping me to move forward. And then just being able to give me more insight into different parts of the company. So finance team, governance, just being able to really engage with it as a business and to understand what they were doing. So that gave me more confidence into, okay, so now what it's about is let me start talking to different people, connecting, building a different network to understand how people go into it, what they actually do from day to day, and whether this can be possible or not. And I mean, it's been almost 2 years and I'm still here standing.
Oh, I love it. It must be going all right.
It must be going okay. And the pleasure, of course, of coming to speak at the stylist event where I met your amazing self a couple of months ago. So just things like that when you have a thought and it can be quite natural to say, oh, but I wouldn't be any good at it, or oh, but that would be for someone else, or oh, I don't have the ability to do this. And when we start to think, but what if I did? What would that look like? And we start to use our curiosity and imagination, you never know what could be a result of that.
Oh, I love it. Love it all. So Bev, one of the things in Another Door that we're doing is we obviously help people through the Another Door experience, but Another Door Recommended is all about people having one thing that they absolutely go for. They're the expert. They become known for. How did you navigate? Because you've already shared that you had actually many skills and many different experiences that you could actually draw on to create your self-employment, your business. How did you decide which specialism, where to focus?
So I started by just listing out things that I knew I was good at and things that I enjoyed. But then I started to listen more because it was great for me to tell myself these different things, but I started to listen more. And what I mean is, what would I remember or notice that people around me would comment on when it would come to myself? And the things that I noticed mostly was, oh, but you're so good at bringing people together, or you're such a good person to talk to, or how are you so confident? And these aren't things I had naturally really thought about or struggled with. So there were recurring themes. And I brought that into the list of things as well, because once we start picking up and turning into what things that people are already saying, because sometimes we're not thinking in that way. So they might say it and you might be like, oh, thanks, or oh, it's just something I love to do, and then we brush it off. Especially with compliments, not all of us are well equipped or feel as comfortable to accept them. So it's about starting to listen to those little things, or what we might see as little, that people start to comment on around us about ourselves.
Oh, I really like that. That's so interesting. But I completely resonate with the thing about not being good at compliments. I've been always terrible at that. Ever since I've been young, I remember just being highly uncomfortable at anyone saying anything nice about me. So that's had to be worked on. But I love the fact that you've turned it into a really sort of positive experience where you're like, well, why don't I learn something here? I like that.
Yeah, I think it was just interesting to quieten down my thoughts, because, especially when we start thinking to ourselves, oh no, but no one's gonna want the idea, or that's not really gonna work, or does anyone actually want to listen to you? We can have such loud thoughts, and the loudest ones are sometimes the negative ones. So it was being able to just say, right, those are gonna go on mute, and let me just start honing in on different things. So it might be a message somebody had sent and said, oh, thank you for helping with that wording. It was really helpful, or whatever it may be, if I had helped them out with something, or like a passing comment. But being able to be more present and actively pick those up. So with that, the list of skills I listed, things I enjoyed and what people said, that's when I said, okay, I'm going to go into confidence coaching, because it was something that I know over the years I would have benefited from. And something that a lot of people that I spoke with would say, yeah, I just, have a fear of rejection here, or a fear of what people may say. I actually do put this thing out. So it's very, very common. It's very, very common, because none of us want to be seen as the person who's gone and done this and hasn't gone right, or the person who's put their hand up to give an answer and it's the wrong answer, because we may feel shame, embarrassment. So it's something that I noticed that a lot of us experience but don't necessarily talk about.
Interesting. And I guess it's this sort of anti-burnout. It's the rebellion against burnout as well, because you can kind of start reaching through confidence, I guess.
Absolutely. So it both, I mean, I'm not going to say that the burnout happens for a reason, because
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, don't ever go down that route. Oh my gosh, no. Oh yeah, it's really good, but I felt horrendous and nearly lost my eyesight. No, but
absolutely. But yes, it was a way to be able to take that and say, okay, what would I have actually benefited from?
Yeah.
And various examples through the years as well. What would I benefited from? And sometimes confidence, not sometimes, but all the time, confidence will be different things for different people. It's going to look, sound, feel different to everybody. So it's not this is what it is, or this is how you have to be. It's looking at, okay, so where are we right now? What is it that you want to go for? And what's the obstacle in your way? What is it that you're feeling? And really exploring how we can move that person across the line.
Yeah, love that. Final question that I'm get kind of curious about, because you do talk about burnout, as I said, that's what your sort of topic was kind of at the panel, and you share your story. I know that you do that a lot on your social media. You're really open about it. Do you ever get burnt out from sharing your burnout story?
No, because I'm very intentional. So I ensure that I have the capacity, the energy to be able to manage those types of things. and I'm very intentional about how I spend my time, the amount of people that I'm speaking to a day or a week, what the topics are, because also another thing that I speak about is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And sometimes that can be quite heavy as well. So I'm very intentional, and I make sure that I'm in a place, in a good position. I'm doing things. So, for example, I turn my phone completely off from about 9 p.m., but not just the Wi-Fi, I just turn it completely off from about 9 p.m. and I won't switch it on until at least an hour after I've woken up, just to make sure that I can switch off from everything and I'm able to rejuvenate myself. And there are certain things like during the day, I'll put my phone somewhere else and we look at it. The amount of time that I'm on social media, there are just so many different things that I'm intentional about, because it can be something that is heavy or more difficult, but also because I'm away from that time as well. It's something that, yes, it happened, I'm able to tell that story, but I know I don't have that emotional investment like I did when I was going through it. So it's something that I have various tools to work through it. And I think the main thing about myself is being intentional. And if it's something that I feel like, actually, I can't do this, or I'm not going to be in the best position to share this with the person, then I won't do, and I'll be open about that.
That is very powerful. I feel very inspired by that, because I mean, I work with a lot, you probably do as well. We probably work with a lot of people who, quite often business comes from, or a business idea comes from experience, and you've experienced something and then you want to help others. It's quite a common thing now. But one thing, it's common, and it's amazing because it's almost like passing it on and the learnings and everything. But the one thing to really look out for is that kind of, you have moved on and you're in a different space. You're not in that space now. So people repeating the message again and again, and having to share their experience again and listen to other people's stories again. You have to be aware of that when you're setting up your business. And that's why I like what you've done. Again, I was, listening to your story when you were sharing people. I thought that's really clever, because you, as you said, you choose when you share your burnout story, but actually now you're in a positive space of helping people with their confidence and uplift. And, that helps you, protect you from constant burnout revisiting, which is very subtle but important when you're starting your business. So thank you for sharing that, because I do think it's kind of an important message.
Absolutely.
Right. So, Bev, I have 3 quick questions to end the podcast on. Oh my goodness, I've just realised we've talked for over an hour, so thank you so much for your time. Oh my goodness, nearly an hour. We're nearly at an hour. Oh my goodness. Right, I'll go really quickly with the 3 quick fire questions, see what comes out when I fire the questions at you. So the first quick fire question, your Another Door book.
Without a doubt, it would be Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. I'm not sure if you read that, but I'm sure you probably come across it.
Yeah.
Amazing book that I would give is definitely read a few pages and then put into action what you've taken away from it, rather than reading the whole book first and then get into it.
Oh, that's such a good advice. That's such good advice. Just get on with it. Do exactly what she's telling you on the cover.
Exactly.
And it's such a classic, isn't it? How old is that book now? It's about 25 years old or something, is it? It's incredible.
Big.
Amazing. Right, okay. Love that. Absolutely love that one. Next question. Your Another Door soundtrack or song?
Okay, so I wouldn't have had one at the time. If I look back during that time, it would have probably been, there's a song called Caught Out There by Khalees. And there's a lyric that says, I hate you so much right now, because I was angry, I was frustrated, and I gave up on myself. But looking back on it, my song would be, there's one called This Is Me by Next Step, Next with 2 X's. And it just talks about being you, your authentic self, accepting yourself. Like, it's just one of my favorite songs. So that would be my Another Door.
I'm going to look that up. I don't know next step. I feel like I'm missing out. Right, I've made a note of that. Absolutely know the Khalees one. Love that. And now I'm going to have to go and play it when I get off this. Absolutely need that back in my life. So that is brilliant. Brilliant. Love it. Final one, which might be a bit easier. Your one piece of advice for anyone about to close their door and open their next door.
Yes. So mine would be not to reject yourself. Do not discredit yourself from any opportunities, and don't reject yourself by what we were talking about earlier, thinking that you are the problem or you are the issue and internalizing that. But knowing that there are always other doors that you can open, other doors that you can create and build as well, to open. Everybody's life path is going to look different. But like, there's one thing that I can really hone in on and drive home is not to reject yourself from another opportunity because you think you're not good enough, you're not fit enough for it, you're not the one. All these things that we tell ourselves. What would happen if you didn't? And if you were to give yourself a different story? Sounds a bit cliche, but when you actually do put it into action, like Susan Jeffers says, and feeling the fear and do it anyway, then it helps you not to discredit or reject yourself. And the things that you have done, not to trivialize those either.
Love it. Do not reject yourself. Love it. That does feel like a Khalees song title, actually.
Khalees is great.
Do not reject yourself. Love it. Right, I'm writing that down as well. I've got loads of little one-liners here that I'm scribbling down. Thank you so much, Bev. Where can people find you? Where's the best place for people to follow you, find you, hear more about your work?
Absolutely. Best place that I'm super active on is Instagram. And my Instagram is Bev did that with 3 T's on the end. From there, you can reach out. If you're not on Instagram, then I'm on LinkedIn, Beverly Akufo-Addo. I'm not sure if my full name's going to be on the podcast name, but if not, it's AKUFO-ADDO. And those are the 2 best places to connect with me.
Brilliant. And yes, we will definitely put you in the show notes so people can find you and enjoy your Instagram. I love it. I've been following you and you just bring a little bit of a smile every now and again. Actually, a little bit of envy every now and again. Good envy. And like, love it. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a great conversation. So I appreciate you having me on here. Thank you.
Are you looking for somebody to help you rethink your work? Are you looking for somebody who has got something to say, something different? Perhaps you're creating an event, you've got a conference coming up, and you're looking for speakers or workshops that really get people rethinking. Check out our platform with fresh new voices and people who've got something to say. Come and see us at recommended.anotherdoor.co.uk. Love this podcast? Give us a 5-star review or rate us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.